Okay, so let's talk about the halogens. The halogens are a group of nonmetals. They are in group 17, so the second to last column on the periodic table. They are very reactive. They contain 7 outer electrons, so I don't know if you're seeing a trend at this point. So the trend is that if you number the groups 1 through 18 going across, the number of outer electrons, or these valence electrons, they have the same number as the last number of their group number. So group 1 was 1, group 2 was 2, now group 17 is 7. The halogens want to take 1 electron from a metal. That's how they're going to react with metals. Salts are formed when a halogen gains 1 electron from a metal. We think of table salt as being NaCl, and so that's what is happening. Chlorine is taking 1 electron from sodium. Fluorine is the most chemically active element on the periodic table. That is something you should know, and it is a halogen. You've heard of fluoride before. When you go to the dentist, you are given a fluoride treatment. A lot of toothpaste have fluorides in them. And chlorine, you've heard of chlorine bleach, and a lot of pools that you go swimming in use chlorine, and it's a disinfectant.
In this experiment, a stream of pure fluorine gas is directed at a block of sulfur. Fluorine interacts with the sulfur to release energy in the form of heat and a bright light. The sulfur melts into a dark, thick, flowing liquid. The fluorine gas is then aimed at a cotton ball, which instantly bursts into flames.
A test tube is placed in liquid nitrogen. Chlorine gas is released from a pressurized cylinder into the test tube. As the chlorine gas comes into contact with the cold walls of the test tube, it quickly liquefies and then freezes. The test tube filled with solid chlorine is now removed from the nitrogen and placed over a glass bowl. The solid chlorine very rapidly melts and drips into the bowl where it undergoes sublimation, producing a faint yellow-green gas which disperses in the breeze. In this demonstration, a test tube full of solid non-metallic iodine pellets is placed in an electric coil. As the coil is heated, the solid pellets become a liquid, which quickly changes to a deep violet vapor. As the rising vapor cools, small glittering crystals of solid iodine can be seen forming in the smoke.
In this experiment, bromine is taken from a beaker and dripped onto a dish. At room temperature, it begins to evaporate, with a heavy reddish vapor rising from the dish. Notice that the demonstrator wears rubber gloves to avoid coming in direct contact with the bromine, which can cause burns to the skin and irritations to the throat and eyes. The bromine is then dripped onto a wooden surface and begins to slowly evaporate until it disappears.